Yeah. Yeah. Why am I so dark? Hold up. Running Back Nation, what is good? It is your boy DJs with Running Back Philly. No frauds, no fanboys. Absolutely, positively, never, ever any intros. I didn't even put my thing on the screen. Whatever. We're live on, I think, all platforms. Day 2 or 3 of me trying to stream the damn show to as many platforms as possible. I still think I'm failing, but it's a work in progress. Shout out to everybody in here, over in the playback chat. YM Porter, Prince Monito, Ron, my guy Kopik, Fly Eagles, Dan. What's up? Thanks for hanging out over there. Who's in the YouTube chat? Nick21, Tony Fentris, JS, Firas Jandali. I don't know if I said that right, but thanks for coming through. Jamil Pines, thank you for being here. Yeah, we're going to do this as many days as I possibly can, live at 10 a.m. My dude, Martin Santiago, coming through, of course, with the super chat, and I don't have the chat overlay on the screen. There it is. Martin Santiago showing you love, putting you on the screen. Thanks for the super chat. Sean 4, what's up? Yeah, let's get down to biz. Should I put something on the TV behind me? I don't even feel like it. I don't even feel like doing that. I don't feel like doing that. There's nothing on the TV behind me. Whatever, who cares? Nobody really cares anyway, do they? It just looks cool for the clips that I clip out, things like that. Sal902 drops a tweet in the playback chat. Wheels up to Philly. Drew Hanlon. Interesting. Drew Hanlon is the guy. I have a love-hate relationship with the idea of Drew Hanlon. Drew Hanlon is the guy that fixed Markelle Fultz' jump shot. I was at a Sixers game, and Markelle Fultz was playing. Ben Simmons hit Markelle in the corner. He shot a corner three. He made the corner three. The entire arena was screaming, "Thank you, Drew." And then Markelle Fultz went downhill again, and we've never seen him revive himself. I was going back and forth with a couple people on Twitter yesterday about Markelle Fultz because, you know, when I say he never got back to the potential that he had, or the draft stock of a number 1 overall draft pick, people get upset. They say, I don't watch ball. Markelle Fultz is this. Markelle Fultz is that. He still shoots the ball like he's throwing a weighted 12-pound ball off the side of his hip, and he shoots 31% from 3. I'm not saying Markelle Fultz didn't become a decent NBA player, but he never got back to that number 1 overall draft pick level of player. And it just is what it is. Let's get right down to business. Martin, I'm going to leave you on the screen. Thanks for the super chat once again. Where are my notes at? I put some notes this morning. I accidentally deleted my intro music. So when the countdown was playing, I had music playing off of my phone, and then ads kept popping up because I don't pay for YouTube Premium. This is the best YouTube show in the world. All right, look. Last night we were on PlaybackTV, playback.tv/runningbackphilly, watching the Heat versus the Atlanta Hawks, and the Miami Heat lost. The Miami Heat lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA play-in tournament. So now the Miami Heat have to play the winner of Chicago and I don't even remember who's down there. But the Miami Heat lost to the Atlanta Hawks, and I think that's funny. There's a couple reasons I think that's funny. Jaden Springer, Mac McClung, Lewis King, and a bunch of other G League players beat the fully healthy Atlanta Hawks. And don't tell me, it was the end of the season. They weren't trying. I watched that game. They were 100% trying. The Miami Heat, fully healthy, in a play-in tournament, to win a game, to jump to the 7th seed, to play the Boston Celtics in the first round. They lose to the Atlanta Hawks. Now they have to play another game to try to get into the 8th seed to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. Maybe Miami wants to play Milwaukee. Maybe Miami was trying to avoid Boston in the first round. That's a very good possibility. But I watched the game and it didn't look like they were throwing the game. They were giving effort. They made a couple of runs every single time they made a run. They got it down to 6 points in the fourth quarter, and then the Hawks went on another run. Every single time they cut it, they cut the lead. Atlanta got something like an offensive rebound or whatever. It was reminding me of those Sixers games where we're down by 20, we make a comeback, and every single time it looks like we have some kind of momentum. We give up an offensive rebound and an open three and whatever else. So that's what I saw last night. The Miami Heat lost to the Atlanta Hawks. Is Jimmy Butler overrated? Some people got mad at me yesterday because I said on Twitter, Jimmy Butler has always been overrated. And they got mad because they don't know exactly what I meant by that. What I mean by that is that Jimmy Butler has always been a high-level NBA player. He's just never been the superstar that people have always talked about him in the light of being. People have always talked about Jimmy Butler as if he's in the conversation with NBA superstars. As if he's in the conversation, with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, on and on and on. I don't think he was ever a superstar, and it's simply for the fact that he's basically a wing that shoots a terrible percentage from three. DeMar DeRozan, anybody? Jimmy Butler, to me, has always just kind of been DeMar DeRozan. Probably. Or maybe a better Draymond Green. I always thought he was a very high-level glue guy, but you need one or two other real superstars to win a championship. The bubble, who knows what the bubble was? You know what I mean? Shout out to Kopik in the chat. Comparing him to Mars borderline slanders. I don't care. I think that's what he is. And he could take a team to a certain level, but once they get there, a la the finals in the bubble, and they got to the finals, game's a lot different with no crowd. The game is just a lot different with no crowd. It's weird. I don't know about the bubble. Players played so much different. Some players played worse without a crowd. Some players played so much better without a crowd. Who knows what the bubble was? But yeah, he's not the guy that's going to get you over the top. And now, I mean, he goes to Miami, gets a max contract. He does the whole Tobias Harris over me. And I'm not a Tobias Harris fan. I don't think Tobias Harris deserves a $180 million contract. I think Tobias Harris plays lazy, doesn't box out, lets guys cut back door, misses wide open layups. I don't know what the hell Tobias Harris is anymore. But Jimmy Butler beats the Sixers in a regular season game, comes through the tunnel, says, Tobias Harris over me. And now look at ya. Now look. You just lost the game to the Atlanta Hawks in a damn play-in tournament. So congratulations on the 5-year max contract. Congratulations on, living a lavish life down in Miami. Congratulations. But I'm not moved by Jimmy Butler. Now let me ask you guys this in the chat, speaking of the Atlanta Hawks, because we need the Atlanta Hawks. I thought the Heat stood a better chance at taking a couple of games from the Boston Celtics, but boy, was I wrong. We need the Atlanta Hawks. In the chat, what are the chances the Atlanta Hawks I'm not going to say beat the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series. That would be insane. What are the chances the Atlanta Hawks win one game against the Boston Celtics in the first round? What are the chances the Atlanta Hawks win a single game? Ron says 50%. Kopik with a 25%. NZ for 3. What's up, my guy? 35%. What about YouTube chat? Where's the YouTube chat? A little bit slow over there on the YouTube chat. Ferris Jandali, 20%. Lou Figs, their first home game, 60%. Because we kind of know, unless there's an epic implosion on the Philadelphia 76ers side of things, we kind of know we are going to face the Boston Celtics in the second round. To have the best chance against the Boston Celtics in the second round, first of all, the Philadelphia 76ers have to sweep the Brooklyn Nets, get them up out of here as fast as possible, maybe blow them out a couple games, rest Joel, James, and the squad in the fourth quarter. Maybe let my young prodigy, Jaden Springer, take the reins for a couple of fourth quarters in that series. If you build a big enough lead, that's a perfect best case scenario. That's what I'm saying. You also, if you can do that, if you can take care of the Brooklyn Nets in the first round in 4 games, and somehow, some way, the Atlanta Hawks steal 2 from the Boston Celtics, then it goes to 6. If you get 4 games in the Brooklyn series and you rest Joel and James in a couple of the fourth quarters, best case scenario, I'm not saying that's going to happen at all. Best case scenario, you get that in 4 games, you get the rest of your guys a couple of fourth quarters in some blowouts, and the Atlanta Hawks manage to somehow push the Boston Celtics to 6 games, I would feel a lot better about the Sixers versus the Boston Celtics in the second round. Can Atlanta do that realistically? No, not at all. This is a team that just lost fully healthy to the Philadelphia 76ers deep bench. I'm talking Jaden Springer, Lewis King, Mac McClung, who some people still think is an NBA player. I love how you guys overrate guys that you're fans of. You can be a fan of a player and still say, I don't want to go on a Mac McClung rant, but this annoyed me when I talked about Mac McClung the other day. I said he's too small. And some people in the comments had the audacity to say the name Allen Iverson in my comments. I didn't even respond. They said, well, Allen Iverson was the best player in the world in high school, son. Come on, bro. Allen Iverson stepped into the league in 96 and averaged 26 points per game. No, not 26 points per game. He had 19 points per game, but his first game as an NBA player, he dropped 26. He crossed over Michael Jordan as a rookie. Who are we talking about? Anyway, I didn't want to go on a little tangent there, the Mac McClung thing. But either way, the Atlanta Hawks just lost to Jaden Springer and Mac McClung. Realistically, the Boston Celtics should sweep the Atlanta Hawks unless they have a stinker game where Jason Tatum goes, 2 for 17, which he's done before. If Jaylen Brown still has an injured hand from cutting himself while watering plants, that's the most fraudulent injury I've ever heard of. My nose is running because the weather keeps breaking. It goes from cold to hot, hot to cold. My allergies can't keep up. But that's the most fraudulent injury I've ever heard of. Here's the 2 most fraudulent injuries I've ever heard of. Ben Simmons, back tightness. Jaylen Brown cutting his hand watering plants. Listen, maybe plants are a hobby of his. Maybe watering plants is something that he enjoys doing. But realistically, if I'm worth millions and millions of dollars, I'm at home after an NBA game, feet up, feet in the ice tub. Somebody else is watering my plants, bro. Come on. Maybe you got your mom in the guest house. And, hey, Mom, can you come over and water my plants? I'm just saying. But if Jaylen Brown, maybe he has pain in his shooting hand. Maybe Jason Tatum has a horrible shooting game. Maybe they don't guard Trae Young the best one of these games, and he, goes off for like 30 and 15 assists and the Hawks steal one, maybe. But if I was a betting man, I would say Celtics in 4, unfortunately. There's another reason you could go Celtics in 5. The NBA hates sweeps. The stats are there. I should have looked it up before I did this show, but the stats are there. The foul calls for a team that's down 0-3 in an NBA playoff series are miles. It's blatantly obvious what the NBA tries to do to avoid sweeps. It is what it is. It's a business. They lose money if they make a lot of money if they get an extra NBA game. But, if the NBA influences one game and the Atlanta Hawks play well and the Celtics play terrible, I could see Atlanta getting one game, but I think realistically it should be a sweep. And, hopefully the Sixers take care of the Brooklyn Nets nice and easy. And both teams are kind of on the same level as far as rest goes, matching up in the second round. JS, what's up? Tony Fentress. Mac will never compare to AI, but I do hope he's invited to training camp next season. He's only 24. You never know. You got to have an elite game to be 6'1" in the NBA. And, I don't know. What is it that TJ McConnell really brings to an NBA team? I guess if you say TJ McConnell, then I'm like, all right, maybe he could, but I don't know. I put money on Jaylen Brown will be the Celtics' best player this playoff. Sean Ford, more consistent as of late too. Fair enough. That'd be interesting because he's shown that, he's maybe not really interested in staying in Boston. So who knows? Part of that is that there are a lot of small guards to attack. That's true too. That is true too. Okay. What's next? A little bit more JJ Redick nonsense. All right. JJ Redick, after the clip came out from his podcast where he voted against Joel Embiid for MVP, which I just think is fraudulent, not because I think JJ Redick has to vote for a former teammate for MVP. I think his reasoning for Giannis was flawed, and I explained all of that yesterday in that little breakdown. But I just want to play this clip right here. Because there's some things he says in here that I'm starting to think Jimmy Butler doesn't watch. I'm starting to think, why did I say Jimmy Butler? I'm starting to think, let me start this over so I can get a nice, clean YouTube clip out of this. I'm starting to think JJ Redick doesn't watch basketball because what he's about to say in this clip is absolutely ridiculous. Listen to this. If you can't hear it in the playback chat, I apologize. I still can't figure out why I can't get dual audio over there, but they're working on it. I'll repeat what he's saying as he's saying it, just so everybody knows what's going on here.
Look, I played with Joe. We all share, like Rondo knows this, you all share blame.
He said, I played with Joe. We all share blame.
When you don't win a championship,
right. When you don't win a championship, we all share blame.
On a good team and you come up a little, like I share blame in that, right?
I share blame in that, right? He says. Yeah, you do. Well, I think it was Brett Brown really putting you in a position to handle the ball 40 feet from the rim in a freaking playoff game. That was the most asinine thing. But yeah, you missed basically every big wide open shot there was in that playoff series for being such a 3-point sniper. But continue to listen to this.
Look, the reality is he wasn't great in last year's playoffs.
The reality is he wasn't great in last year's playoffs.
Having an MVP season.
Having an MVP season.
Averaged 23 a game in 10 postseason games.
He averaged 23 a game in 10 postseason games, JJ Redick says. JJ Redick. I have to tell you that Joel Embiid was playing with a broken face and a dislocated ligament in his thumb, bro. What? JJ Redick, supposed to be a watcher of basketball, just said Joel Embiid wasn't great in last year's playoffs. And by the way, he was great against the Toronto Raptors before he got elbowed in the face by Pascal Siakam. And he brings up his point per game average over the course of 10 games because the Sixers were down 0-2 against the Miami Heat. And Joel had to come back, and they came back and won 2 games with a broken face. And they ultimately fell short because he couldn't shoot the ball and he couldn't see. And don't forget, he got smacked in the face at half court with that mask on, with a broken orbital bone in his face, which guess what? If you have a broken orbital bone in your face and you get smacked there, I'm just going to guess that you're going to have some migraines, blurred vision, all kinds of stuff. Joel Embiid was playing through ridiculous adversity. And you're going to ignore all of that and just say he averaged only 23 points per game in 10 playoff games last year. He wasn't great in the playoffs. You know what that makes you, JJ Redick? That makes you a box score watcher, a calculator boy, and you need to watch ball if you want to have these conversations. You just exposed yourself. I don't know what you do in your free time. Maybe you're watering plants with Jaylen Brown, but you need to get back to watching ball if you want to be a sports analyst. Pissing me off.
Like, he wasn't great. For them to win, he has to be great. He has to be as dominant as he was in the regular season. That's their chance. Okay.
I didn't think I would get that mad about that. But I just I just wanted to go over that. Side tangent, this JJ went to ESPN, the same company that ranked Bam over Embiid a couple of years ago. That did happen. They ranked Bam 14th best player in the NBA, and they ranked Joel Embiid 15th best player in the NBA, and that's just absolutely ridiculous. Why do you think ESPN has such an agenda against Joel Embiid? They seem to have such an agenda against Joel Embiid. There was also a tweet where, they were talking about games missed. And they said Joel Embiid missed, what did he miss? He played 66 games. So he missed 15. And they said no player has ever won MVP with that many games missed or something like that. But Giannis missed more games. Why are they singling out Joel Embiid? Why does ESPN hate Joel Embiid? I don't know. I can't figure it out. Moving on. Speaking of Joel Embiid was named NBA Player of the Month for the 3rd time this season. No other player in the league has 3. Somebody commented on a video yesterday, and I wish I would have remembered your name. Shout out to you for the comment, but he put it very perfectly. If you want to reach for stats to say why Joel Embiid shouldn't be MVP, and you're reaching for things like point per minute, which is only 0.01% higher or 0.01 higher than Joel Embiid, Giannis has, or you want to reach for things like 30, 10, and 5. Only Wilt has done that, even though Joel had 33, 10, and 4 on a higher field goal percentage on more jump shots. If you want to reach for stats, why don't you just say Joel Embiid leads the league in scoring for the 2nd year in a row? That's a stat, and that's the most literal stat of all literal stats. He literally is the scoring champion for the 2nd year in a row. And on top of that, Player of the Month, 3rd month this season, no other player in the league has 3 Player of the Month. So there's 2 reasons Joel should be MVP. Shout out to my guy Sean Bernard. Joel Embiid has been named Eastern Conference Player of the Month for March. 33.3 points per game, 9.4 rebounds, 4.4 assists. The Sixers were 15-7 while facing the toughest schedule in the NBA. This is Embiid's 3rd Player of the Month award. Just give him the damn MVP already. Just give him the MVP already, bro. I mean, come on, man. You just, and no, it's not a pity award. It's not because the other guys have one. Joel Embiid has been the best player in basketball for 2 straight seasons now. Give him his damn MVP. Doc Rivers has been named Eastern Conference Coach of the Month for March/April. March/April? Is that 2 months? I don't know. My guy Sean Bernard, I love you, Sean. and this is a polarizing topic, and this is going to be a topic that I cover here for a couple of minutes. Doc Rivers helped lead the Sixers to a conference best 15-7 record during this time, despite the Sixers having the NBA's toughest schedule. The 54-28 record is the most wins for the Sixers since 2000-2001. Before I give my opinion on this, fun fact or fun tweet from Dave Early, Liberty Ballers. Did Doc really just swap Montrezl Harrell for Paul Reed, put Maxey back in the starting lineup, abandon all of his bench shenanigans, and win Coach of the Month? Yes, the answer is yes. And you see Run It Back Philly's top reply there. Don't hold your breath. Playoff Doc is incoming. All right. What do you guys think in the chat first? Let me hear it in the chat. Do you think Doc Rivers led the Philadelphia 76ers to a 15-7 record? Do you think Doc had enough of an influence on that record that he deserved to win Coach of the Month? Or is it just the NBA says this was the best team in the toughest conference or in the toughest NBA schedule in the month of March? The coach wins Coach of the Month because you can't give it to someone else. Prince Monito says no. Kopik says no. Sixers fan says no. His lineups against the Celtics and Bucks were awful. See, you got to watch ball to be able to say something like that. Respect. Nothing but ball watchers in the playback. Let's see. John Francis. Doc will lead the 76ers to a championship. Bold take. Embiid carried us. Glenn cost us at least 3 wins in that stretch. DJ the Barrel, yeah, because if Ed didn't put Maxey or Reed in, we would have probably lost more games. I agree with that. But he's still trash. Fair. Doc cost us games, LOL, that run. No, Joel Embiid led the 76ers to the best record in March. Simply put, unspoken words, simply put. So here's what I came up with, okay, to explain this. If a NASCAR team wins the Daytona 500, the crew chief wins crew chief of the year, whatever the hell, right? That's just by default because your race car driver finished first in the race. What was the crew chief really doing? Hey, car coming up on your left. Go high. Go low. 2 cars on your right. Get in the left lane, draft something around this corner. Is it that valuable? Did the driver even listen to the crew chief? Or is he just a very, very good race car driver and knew what to do and beat everybody? That's what I'm saying. Did Joel Embiid, James Harden, and these guys even really listen to Doc Rivers? Or are they, hey, we are great NBA players. We can go out and win. It's just kind of an award by default. Also, NZ for 3 in the playback chat on the money right here. Congrats to Glenn for making the most obvious decision. So that's the thing. If you have a very talented team and you're kind of underachieving the whole season because you're running these lineups that really don't make any sense. I mean, you could ask a guy sitting on a corner in a lawn chair in North Philly with a Sixers hat on. You could just go walk past any block and find the dude with a Sixers hat on sitting in a chair and say, hey, does this lineup make sense against this team? And he'd say, no, they should do this. So you go the whole season with these questionable lineups, just like you did last year. The love for George Niang, the Montrezl Harrell love for the first 3 months of the season. The benching Paul Reed, the benching Matisse Thybulle, and then we have to trade him because you won't play him. Who knows if he's really good or if it was Doc. You go the whole season with just these insane, questionable lineups. And then for 1 month, you say, okay, I'm going to do what everybody told me to do. For 1 month, I'm going to do what everybody told me to do. And you bench Montrezl Harrell. You play Paul Reed, who is clearly the best option at backup center. You play the athletic rebounding defender who dives on the floor, gets steals, is scrappy, is not going to get beat in transition. You make the obvious choice there. You put Maxey back in the starting lineup because clearly he plays better with James Harden on the ball. And you stop with the all-bench lineups. You create a lineup of James Harden, Jalen McDaniels, Paul Reed, Daniel House Jr., who's just a psycho, and I love watching him play. I love watching that whole lineup play because you never know what you're going to get. They're all just insane. They might score. They might throw the ball off the top of the backboard. They might dive into the third row. It's just fun entertainment for me, that lineup. But I think the athleticism and the speed and the transition game and the defense, it's good for the Sixers bench unit. So you do all of the obvious things for a whole month. And the Sixers go from disappointing in certain parts of the season to being the best team in the NBA with the hardest schedule in the month of March. What I'm saying is these are not genius decisions. These are obvious decisions. So really what I think was Doc Rivers held back the potential of this team most of the season and then made the obvious choices, or just he took a step back and said, fine, here's the ball, good luck, and they were better. NBA coaches are funny because do they really matter that much? What I'm saying is I kind of feel like NBA coaches can't really help a team be great. They can only hurt a team by overcoaching or coaching with their ego. This might sound crazy, but listen to me. In 2016, the Golden State Warriors could have won a championship with my 7.5-year-old son coaching the team, sitting on the bench, playing Minecraft on his Nintendo Switch the whole time. Now, I think their defensive philosophies have always been great. I love that about Steve Kerr. NBA coaches clearly have value, but it's a 5-on-5 game. The team with the best players on the floor beats the other team with the best players on the floor. Like I said, you could take this Sixers team right now. You could go get some guy on the corner in North Philly, and he would put Paul Reed in the lineup off the bench. He would put Daniel House Jr. off the bench. He would put Jalen McDaniels off the bench. He would make sure James Harden's on the floor with those guys to have a point guard on the floor, or Shake Milton. It's not that complicated. What happens is a coach gets to such a level and grows such an ego and wins a championship. So for the next 15 years, wins a championship of 4 Hall of Famers. So for the next 15 years, he's convinced in his own mind that his philosophy is the right way and the perfect way and the best way, and doesn't listen to anybody, and consistently overcoaches, overcomplicates everything. So really, maybe NBA coaches can only hurt a team because Doc's going to do it in the playoffs. He's going to play the bench combination of George Niang and PJ Tucker at backup center in certain matchups because he thinks he has to get creative in certain matchups. He said it last year. We're going to play Paul when they go small. We're going to play DeAndre when they go big. And the reporter was like, but that's literally not what you did. And he got angry that he got called out to his face. He argued with the media the whole damn playoffs last year. Why would it be different? He's going to overcoach. He's going to make decisions in the game that are going to hurt the 76ers. If the Sixers had no coach at all and just some random guy off the street with this roster, they might be better. I know there's people that are like, you just refuse to give Doc Rivers credit. You just absolutely refuse to give him credit. You just hate him. Yeah. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. I don't know if take it for what it is. If you like that and agree with it, agree with it. If you dislike that and you disagree with it, disagree with it. Here's Kendrick Perkins. I hear a lot of people talking crazy about Doc Rivers, but let me remind the world that Joel Embiid the last 2 seasons has been the best. Joel Embiid the best. Hold on, let me restart because I can't keep up with the grammar mistakes here. I hear a lot of people talk crazy about Doc Rivers, but let me remind the world that Joel Embiid last 2 seasons has been the best seasons of his career. Okay, so Joel Embiid, apostrophe S. Joel Embiid's last 2 seasons have been the best seasons of his career. He made it sound like he was talking about Joel Embiid, but he was talking about Joel Embiid's seasons because he's not good at typing tweets. But let me remind the world that Joel Embiid's last 2 seasons have been the best seasons of his career. I strongly believe that coaching played a huge part in that. Carry the hell on. And here's your boy's reply. It's roster construction, not coaching. Not hard to know that playing 2 centers plus Ben Simmons is bad for spacing. Again, he walked into a situation where Brett Brown was trying to stuff Al Horford next to Joel Embiid. And then Brett Brown became so obsessed with the idea of 2 centers, even when Joel Embiid sat out, he played Al Horford and I forget his name, another backup. So he played 2 centers again. He was obsessed with it. It was weird. So Doc Rivers came into a situation where something was being done that didn't make any sense at all. And Daryl Morey came into a situation where the roster didn't make any sense at all. I mean, literally day 2, Daryl Morey was here for 48 hours and said, I got to get rid of this Al Horford contract. It's up out of here. All Doc Rivers had to say was, and yeah, being more knowledgeable about basketball than Brett Brown was isn't saying a lot. Doc Rivers came in and said, well, Joel Embiid's a superstar center. He needs space. We can't play another center next to him. We need ball handling guards on the floor. I mean, that's just basic basketball knowledge. So Doc Rivers stepped into a situation, did some basic basketball knowledge decisions, and Joel Embiid had the best 2 years of his career. Yeah, Joel Embiid needs space. That's obvious. So congratulations, Doc Rivers, on making very, very obvious decisions, and I'll hand it to you. Brett Brown didn't seem to understand that spacing is important for a superstar scoring center. I just so happen to be wearing the Fire Brett Brown t-shirt. But I don't think that means Doc Rivers is specifically responsible for Joel Embiid having the 2 best years of his career. Because I believe that any coach that exists in the NBA, assistant, whatever, outside of Brett Brown, I just still can't figure out what the dude was doing. He was stuck in 1994. He said, I coached Tim Duncan. You got to play from the post. Yeah, it's not the 90s anymore, buddy. You can't play David Robinson and Tim Duncan together, dingbat. But any other coach would have walked in here and done the exact same thing. We got to get Al Horford out of here. We got to create space for Joel Embiid. I'm just saying it doesn't take a genius. And the things that Doc does that hurts you, that leads to a playoff record of the most blown 3-1 leads in the history of the game. And he couldn't get out of the second round with the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, J.J. Redick, DeAndre Jordan in his prime Clippers. He couldn't get back to an NBA championship with the 4 Hall of Fame Boston Celtics. The very next season, he blew playoff leads. He got traded. Who trades a coach? The championship Boston Celtics traded Doc Rivers. So congratulations. You created space for the best player in basketball. That doesn't make him some kind of genius. And I think the things that he does that hurts teams in the playoffs should be talked about a lot more than creating space for Joel Embiid. So, Kendrick Perkins, I respectfully disagree. Carry the hell on. And come on, bro. Like, type a little bit better so we can read your tweets. Last thing. Nets fans are convincing themselves that they can beat the 76ers in a playoff series. And they took one play. They took one play and they said, this is the formula. This is the formula. So, Nets fans, I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. You're like a couple of little puppy dogs, rolling around on the ground. It's cute that you guys are jumping together and saying, "Look, guys, this is how Nick Claxton, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson can beat Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and the Philadelphia 76ers. This is how." He says, here's the formula. Let's watch the formula. A PJ Tucker screen, okay? That's probably a play we shouldn't be running in the first place. Not a good screen either. So, player gets over this terribly weak PJ Tucker screen. I mean, you're on his backside, bro. This is not a screen. But here's the formula, they say. Now, PJ Tucker runs to the dunker spot. Not sure why he did that instead of running straight to the corner. Then they set up a pick and roll with Joel. Now PJ's in the corner. There's nobody near him. Hold up! There's nobody even close to PJ Tucker on this play. This is not the formula. The formula right here is for James Harden to pass the ball to PJ Tucker in the corner. Wait, he's running baseline again. Okay, the formula is for PJ Tucker to stay in the corner over here. James Harden to give him the ball and him to shoot and make a three, because this is not good defense. You left a 46.5% corner three-point shooter wide open in the corner. But James didn't give him the ball because PJ's running across the baseline. Not sure why. This is what James Harden told Doc Rivers not to do. He put Tobias Harris in this place, and he said, we need PJ in the corner. We need Tobias in the dunker spot. Why doesn't Doc Rivers know that? Coach of the month should know that. I don't know. The Nets switch on the screen. Now there's 8 seconds left on the play on the shot clock. We get Joel the ball at the top of the key. Not sure why the play just didn't start like that. Quick double to Joel. PJ Tucker's still in a dunker spot. DeAnthony Melton's on the floor. That should probably that will be Tyrese Maxey in the starting lineup. This is the end of the second quarter. So this was the game where Tyrese Maxey wasn't even playing, or he was still coming off the bench. DeAnthony Melton's not even in the corner. Why didn't you sprint to the corner? Sprint to the corner! Bro, sprint to the damn corner. What are you doing? And Joel turns it over by trying to force it to PJ Tucker under the rim. This was horrendous offense more than it was great defense. But, Nets fans take one play, and they've posted it on Twitter, and they've said to themselves, we can stop the Philadelphia 76ers, and here's how. A play in the second quarter of a regular season game that Tyrese Maxey wasn't even on the floor, that PJ Tucker wouldn't stand in the corner, that I don't know what was going on. PJ Tucker was in a dunker spot. But that play is telling Nets fans that we can beat them. Here's the formula. Brooklyn born and raised, it is, but can Jacques Vaughn have these guys maintain this type of defense for 4 games? Vaughn's rotations will have to be close to perfect. No, they can't maintain this type of defense for 4 games because the Sixers won't maintain this level of idiotic offensive strategy for 4 games. Maybe 1 game, not 4 games. Chris replies and says that's the kind of max effort it's going to take on the defensive end. Heads up, double teaming and switching, fast pace. No one said it would be easy, but they are capable. Come on, bro. Just come on, man. Just come on, man. I am woke Philly posts the fact that the Nets lost that game, which is awesome. And my tweet or my reply to that was, you guys are adorable sitting here actually convincing yourselves the Nets have a chance in hell. It's called being a fan. Philly likely wins, but can the Nets steal a game or two? And I said the Nets will definitely steal a game. It's going to be Bridges and Cam 40-40 game, but I'm sorry. They don't stand a chance at winning. Now, this is what I don't do. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I do this. If the Sixers were in the position the Nets are in right now, with no real superstars on the squad, would I be reaching for one play from a regular season game to try to convince myself that my team with no stars, couple of high-level role players, can beat a team with the best player in the NBA, a fringe all-star, best facilitator in the NBA, leads the league in assists, James Harden, a young player in Tyrese Maxey who's averaging 20 points per game, who could make you pay in the playoffs and has had some huge games down the stretch? Would I be sitting here taking a specific regular season game play and convincing myself that the Sixers can win this series, and then saying things like it's going to take a lot, it's going to take perfect lineups, but they're capable? No, that's what I'm saying. Keep it a buck. I would be sitting here just like I was sitting here when the Eagles were about to play the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Bucks, in the first game of the playoffs when Jalen Hurts was not great at passing from the pocket. I said, hell no, they don't have a chance. The Bucks are going to contain. They're going to make him stay in the pocket. They're going to make him throw the ball. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to have a terrible time. And Tom Brady is going to throw the ball over the middle. Bang, 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 bang. The whole game basically with his eyes closed, and we're going to get smoked. And that's exactly what happened because it was easy to see. I would say, no, we might steal a game, but we have not shown throughout the regular season that we have anybody that can even slow down Joel Embiid. He's probably going to average 45 against us, and we're going to lose 4-1. Best case scenario, we steal 2 games. That's what I would say if I was being realistic, if I was a Brooklyn Nets fan right now. Nets fans are adorable, though. They just are. They are adorable. Anyway. Hey, that's all I got. Thank you guys for hanging out. Join me. Should we go on Playback TV tonight? Should we go on Playback TV tonight and watch another playoff game? I know it's the Bulls versus who? The Raptors? Ugh, does anybody care about that? I'll pop up and watch the second half. So yesterday on Playback TV, I broadcasted the Miami Heat Atlanta Hawks game at 7:30. I was in the chat hanging out with you guys, and then right around like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I jumped on stream, and we had a fun time. We had 66 total people in there. So that's probably that'll probably be my like formula for playoff games that aren't Sixers games. I'll broadcast the game when it starts, then I'll jump on around 9 o'clock to chat with you guys and just watch the game and talk ball. Unspoken Word says no, you should not go on Playback TV. Why not, bro? So yeah, playback.tv/runitbackphilly. Come through if you want to hang out, watch some NBA playoff ball. If you're like Unspoken Words and you have no interest in it, don't come in. It's that, it's pretty simple. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for being active in the chat. Shout out to everybody on Playback. Shout out to everybody on YouTube. I will catch you guys on the next one. We out of here.